Choosing a new tenant can really hurt your bank account as a new landlord, and I just want to share some best practices that I've learned over the years when it comes to screening tenants so that you end up with the best possible tenant. So these are just things that I've done in my past, and I hope it serves you. If you're new to the channel, my name's Justin You're, and I've helped hundreds of people make money in real estate. So when it comes to screening tenants, there are so many things you can do and can screen for, but there's also a lot of things you cannot screen for. So in today's video, I'm just gonna be kind of going over like the things that you can screen for and the things that I look for to find my ideal tenant. Now, there's an ideal tenant for everyone out there because everyone's different, but I'm gonna share with you 4 things that I personally look at that helps me find the best tenants. And this has worked well for me. Hopefully it works well for you too. First thing I really look at is income. If I'm gonna be renting out my place to someone else to live, I wanna make sure they can afford it, right? And let's just say I have a rental unit I'm charging $1,000 in rent for. I wanna make sure that the tenant makes at least 3 times that in gross income. So if I'm charging $1,000 in rent, I wanna make sure they make at least $3,000 so that they have enough money left over to spend on their other stuff. And maybe if, life gets tough, they get sick, whatever, or they lose their job, like they have enough extra money saved up so that they can still afford it. So for example, if I was gonna rent my house out for $1,000 and someone only made $1,500, so only $500 more than the actual rent amount, yeah, maybe they can pay it, while everything is going perfect. But as we know, in life, things don't go perfect. Like everyone has their ups and downs, they have hard times, they get sick, whatever. And that $1,500 a month person, maybe they get sick for a month or they lose their job temporarily. Like, can they still afford their rent if that happens? And you really have to think about these things about how things can go sideways as a new landlord because you just don't know what'll happen really. So that's why I just wanna make sure they make at least 3 times the monthly rent. And another note about that is I look at gross income, not net income. So if you don't know the difference, basically it's this. If you look at someone's paycheck or pay stubs, whatever, there's like a line item at the top that says income or whatever they say, gross income, paycheck, whatever they're paid out. The first number that you see, that's the income I'm looking at, the gross income, whatever they get first. Now, the net income they get, that's basically all the stuff they get like after taxes. So they might not actually, like if their paycheck gross says $3,000, but they actually get in their bank account $2,600, that's because $400 went to taxes and other things of theirs. But I wanna look at like what they actually receive at first, the $3,000. And when it comes to screening for income, please make sure you actually verify their income. So don't just take their word for it. So if you're asking them to make at least $3,000 a month, don't just go to them and say, hey, do you make $3,000 a month? Like, they could easily lie. Like you want to, yes, have them answer how much they actually make, but also you wanna verify by looking at their pay stubs. So you want to ask them for their pay stubs and you wanna actually verify with their employer that they actually work there. Now, most employers, they won't actually tell you how much they do make, like verify income. It'd be cool if they did, but at the very least, call the employer, have them provide a number, an email, or someone to reach out to, and just get verification that they do work there and they're not lying and they're not making fake pay stubs or whatever. So those are the 2 things that you really wanna do. You wanna verify the income, you wanna do it through pay stubs, and you wanna call the employer. So that's the first thing. Make sure they make enough and you do all that verification stuff. So that's the first thing I look for is income. Do they make enough? Now, the second thing I look for is I look at their credit score. It's kind of funny because a lot of landlords actually don't look at credit scores. I do. And the reason why I look at credit scores is because your credit is a sign of how responsible you are with money. Like that's what it's for. And sometimes you can make exceptions if they don't have a credit score at all, like if they don't use credit and they're just good with money. I know people like that. But however, the reason why I look at credit scores, like it shows me some proof that they can handle money, that they can be responsible with paying and making payments on time. That's why I look at credit, and that's why banks look at credit too. Now, when it comes to credit, I want to make sure that they have a credit score of at least 650. Now, I know you might think that might be high for like these tenants, and that's why I said everyone has a different scenario, a different ideal tenant. For me, I chose the credit score of 650 or above because I noticed that a lot of banks, when they're approving like loans to get homes, they use a credit score of around 600, 650. So if that credit score is good enough for banks who have done all their systems and calculations for years, then it's good enough for me. Like they can do their calculations, these banks, and decide that this credit score will make them a lot of money. And so I figure, okay, if it's good enough for these big banks like Wells Fargo, Chase, whatever, like it's good enough for me, like that should work. And what I have found is that the people who do not meet this credit score requirement is that they don't meet it for a variety of reasons. And it could be just because they're not responsible with money, but it also could be like crazy life situations or whatever, big hard times, pregnant, death, I don't know, different things. But I've just noticed that if you're good at paying back money, you're probably gonna be good at paying rent on time. And so far, I haven't had issues with my tenants because I screen for income and credit. So those are just a couple things to look for. Those are 2 things. Now, the third thing I do is I get a background check. So when it comes to background checks, I actually have the tenant pay for it themselves. I usually don't have them do it on like the initial application because I don't want everyone to be wasting their money. And I usually don't run a background check until I have a good idea that this tenant fits. Like if they check all the other boxes, I'll have them run the background check and credit score check last, because they actually pay for themselves and I don't want everyone to be wasting their money. And back when I did these background checks, I actually went through a site called cozy.co, that's COZY.co. I actually don't know if they still do this, but it was a super helpful site for landlords. There's other things like azebo.com or something like that, but there's other sites that you can use, but cozy.co was really helpful because it allowed me to have tenants like apply online and I could see all their information. They can like upload pay stubs, upload anything I needed. And if everything was good, like they can even like pay for their own background check and credit check, which is only like $30 to them or something like that. So that was a super helpful website that I use. Now, what I look for in the background checks is I look for felonies. Like I look for any criminal activity. And this might bring a lot of controversy because a lot of people are like, well, like, don't people deserve a second chance? It's like, well, yeah, but if you're running a business, you have to think kind of in probabilities. Like if this person has had a crime, a felony in the past, like the likelihood of them having it again and like having your home involved is a lot more than someone who hasn't, right? And it sucks to say, because a lot of people might think you're discriminating, and yeah, maybe you are, but it's a business decision. So this is completely, this is just what I've done in the past. I've screened for criminal activity, and if they have a clean background check, I'm good. Like that's kind of it. I don't really go beyond that. Keep in mind, there are a few things that you cannot discriminate against. Like you can't discriminate against like age, gender, religion, like, there's like a couple protected things. I'll have to look it up. Hold on, I got you guys. Okay, I found it. So the few things that you cannot discriminate against when you are screening for tenants, like this is illegal, you can't do this, and hopefully you're not doing this anyways, but you cannot discriminate against race or religion, national origin, familial status, or age. So that's like if you're pregnant, if you're like a single mother, whatever, if you're young, not age, no, not against disabilities, sex, you can't discriminate against sex, and yeah, those things. So you can't discriminate against those things. And if you noticed, criminals weren't in that list. So you can discriminate if they do have something on their record that makes you feel uneasy about renting to someone with a criminal background. But again, it's up to you, it's up to everyone. Everyone has their own ideal tenant. Now, the fourth thing I look at is I look at their landlord references. I wanna make sure that their previous landlords have, gave the thumbs up that they're great tenants and told me that they're good. What I'll do is on the application, I'll just have them basically fill out their past landlords and not just their most recent landlord, but I'll explain why in a bit. So all past landlords, I want them to list and give their contact information that I can reach out to these landlords, whether call, text, whatever, and just see if they were actual good tenants, what was their history like, and ask the most important question, which is, would you rent to these people again? Like if you think about it, if you're a landlord and they're even like a somewhat okay tenant, decent tenant, someone else called you about your listing, your past tenants, and they said, hey, would you rent to this person again? If you give an honest answer, if you say like, no, like I wouldn't, it gives them the best indicator of like, okay, like this might be a tough tenant. Or if you say like, no, they're a pretty good tenant, it also tells them, hey, this is a great tenant. So I call all their past landlords or text or whatever, and I try to verify that, like, what kind of tenant were they? And I try to make sure I ask that important question of like, would you rent to them again? So that's all I really do. And I do not ask for their last landlord only. I will ask for their previous landlord, but I won't ask for just the most recent one. And the reason is, if the most recent landlord is like sick of them and they're just trying to get rid of them right away, like obviously they're gonna say they're amazing tenants because they wanna get rid of them, But if you call all the past landlords, then you get a real good idea of if they really are a good tenant or not. So just be a little bit wary that if you call the most recent landlord, they could be in a rush to get rid of them. So those are the couple things that I look at when it comes to screening tenants. I look at income, credit, criminal background, and landlord references. So those 4 things have helped me a lot. I hope they can help you too. And also, if you want help to grow your real estate business, click on the link in the description for a free strategy session. Peace.